Hello and welcome back to our channel. I'm Colleen and this is Our Blessed Life, and today we're going to be having a homeschooling in high school chat about dual enrollment. So this is a topic that I've gotten a lot of questions about, dual enrollment. This is something that we are just now getting into, and I just wanted to kind of share with you what I've learned so far, what our plan is, how what we've had to do to apply for dual enrollment and all of those things. And I would love it if you have any questions about dual enrollment, if you would leave those in the comments below, and I would be happy to try to answer them. Like I said, we're kind of learning along with you at this point. So my daughter Katie is in high school. She is a junior this year, and we are just now starting dual enrollment classes for her senior year. There's several reasons why we're doing that, and I'll go into that in a minute. But as of right now, she has not taken any, but we have applied for classes for next year. So I'm just going to kind of go through what I've learned and just some of the information that I get questions on a lot. And then, like I said, if y'all have any other questions that I didn't touch on in this video, I'd be happy to try to answer those if you leave those questions in the comments below. Also, if you have any other ideas on specific things that you would like more information on about homeschooling in high school, let me know that in the comments as well, and I will try to work on some of those videos for you. So at the time of the recording of this video, it is, today is February 25th, and this is my daughter Katie's junior year in high school. So she's been homeschooled since 3rd grade, and with her high school classes, we started taking some of those classes when she was in 7th and 8th grade. We started taking some high school credits. That's something that if you're interested in doing, it's definitely a good thing to do, but you do need to look at your own state's requirements to make sure. Some states don't allow you to take high school credits until 8th grade, and I don't think there's any states that allow taking high school credit before 7th grade. So you just want to make sure that if you do that, that you're not going too crazy with that, because some colleges will possibly not take all of those credits, maybe just do a few of them, and just make sure what your state rules are there. So we did some, like I said, we did some high school credits when she was still in middle school, and for the most part, Katie has done most of her classes as honors classes. I've talked a good bit about how we've created honors classes. I spent a long time talking about honors classes for literature and English. I'll go ahead and link that video up top, but it's a review of the Good and the Beautiful Language Arts, and within that video I talk about how we use that curriculum and how we have created 3 honors English classes. And I also have other videos where I've talked about honors, but essentially an honors class is something that has more work than a regular college prep class, and it also has harder work. And so you have to be able to prove that and show that. That's what a college is wanting to see. So it's not just that you use a different grading scale or something like that. There needs to be more work, and the work needs to be harder. So that is what we have done up until this point. We originally intended for Katie to start doing dual enrollment classes this year. However, we moved. We kind of had a change of plans with where she was thinking about for college because of the fact that we moved, and just some other things kind of going on. And so because of that, she just really didn't feel like she was ready to do dual enrollment classes for her junior year. We also had the complication of COVID and just not knowing if she was really going to be able to take in-person classes or whether they were going to be online, and she was really wanting to do in-person classes. So we just kind of made the decision with, Katie just really not wanting to pursue dual enrollment her junior year. We made a decision just to go ahead and just do all of her classes as honors classes. Now it is her end of her junior year, and we are pursuing dual enrollment for next year. So first of all, let's go ahead and just talk about some general concepts. So what is a dual enrollment class? A dual enrollment class is just when a high school student is concurrently taking a college class at a local college, a technical school, or a local college, and they're going to get both high school and college credit at the same time. So there are some negatives to this, and there are also some positives to this, and we're going to be talking about both of those. The primary reason why people do it is because they can go ahead and get college classes done early. Usually you do pay less money for those classes than if you're enrolled as a full-time student, so that will definitely be a benefit. And then also you can take a 1-semester college class, and most states will give you a full year of high school credit because it was a college level class. So that's definitely something to check with your particular state on, but that is the general rule of thumb, that usually a college class taken in high school will give you an entire year of high school credit. So for example, if you sign your student up and they successfully take English 101 at a local college, then they will get an entire year of English credit for high school. Like I said, usually check with your state, but that's how it is in most states, and that is how it is in South Carolina. So our plan for Katie next year, this is our hopeful plan, because it is going to be dependent on, you know, how much room they have in the classes and, you know, actually getting her enrolled and all that kind of stuff. So, but our plan is for Katie to take at least English 101, if not English 101 and 102, to get those 2 basic English classes out of the way. That will accomplish, with an English 101, that will accomplish her senior year of English, which that is one of the credits that she needs to graduate. We also plan for her to take a college algebra or statistics or some basic college math class. She actually is at the point, she took calculus this year. She's almost done with her calculus class, so she actually does not need any math, but we don't want her senior year transcript to look too weak. So we figured we would go ahead and enroll her in just a regular sort of general ed college math and go ahead and do that. So we'll be doing probably either college algebra or statistics, just depending on what is available and what she can get into. So that would be her second class. We also plan to try to do 2 classes in the spring semester, which would be English 102, and then hopefully a general ed type science class, like maybe a geology or something like that. So those are the 4 classes that we're trying to get Katie enrolled in for next year for college classes. So because of the fact that they will be college classes and they will be semester by semester, she will be taking hopefully those 4 classes, but she'll only be taking 2 of those classes at any one time. So she'll have 2 first semester and 2 second semester. So at any given time, she'll only be dealing with 2 college classes at once. For high school, she still needs to take economics, and we plan to do that using Abeka. We plan to make that an honors class. I'll talk more about that when I go into her curriculum classes, when I do my curriculum video for Katie's senior year. But we're planning to do economics as a high school class, and we are probably going to try to get most of that class done over the summer so that she is really only focusing on the college classes while she's actually within the college schedule. So we'll try to get economics done. That's a 1-semester class for high school, and that is the second class that she has to have to graduate. So the only 2 actual credits that she still needs as a senior in order for South Carolina graduation requirements is English and economics. She's taken everything else. The other class that we are going to do next year for Katie as a senior is she's going to continue using Fluens, and she's going to do French 3. She'll do that as an honors class the way we've done for the past several years. And so she's going to be taking that, and we will probably just have her do that all year long like we have been. So at any given time, the hope is that she would be taking the 2 college dual enrollment classes and then her French class. And she would be getting 4 of the college credits, 2 first semester, 2 second semester. Those would be 2 English classes, 1 math class, and a science class. At least that's our hope. Again, we haven't enrolled yet because it's too early. And then she would also be taking the French class all year and the economics class, which I hope to have finished over the summer. Before college usually is going to start like at the end of August, and so I want to try to have it done by then if possible. And if we don't finish it, then we'll probably just do it on breaks so that she doesn't have to do it simultaneously. So if we can do most of the class over the summer and then kind of finish it up when her college is on Christmas break, because there is a longer Christmas break than what we usually do, then that would be a way to do it too. But that's kind of my goal, is to just have her having those 3 classes at any one time, the 2 college and then French. So let's talk about the credits and kind of the practical aspect of this. What does it really look like? What is the GPA outcome? You know, how does it work to get half a credit? in college, but yet you're getting a full year in high school. So I'm gonna go ahead and put something up on the screen here and just kind of discuss this with you real quick, and then we'll come back and talk about some more information. So what I'm showing you now is the 10-point grading scale that South Carolina has for high school students. You want to find your state grading scale because that's what it makes sense to use for your high school student. Even though you're doing homeschool, you could probably come up with any grading scale that you want to, but you need to use something that is going to work for colleges that your student would apply to, something that makes sense coming from your state. And so this is what we're using is the South Carolina Uniform Grading Scale. And so what this is showing here is that, let's go and just look at a grade of 100. So if you take a regular college prep class, you get a 5.0 as far as the grading scale if you make 100. And then the honors weighting in South Carolina would be 5.5. So the question of why do honors classes? Well, it does give you a GPA boost. And if your child needs a little bit of extra, if they're working above grade level or that they need a little bit of extra challenge, then that would be the why for honors. Meanwhile, if you do AP or dual enrollment credit, that same grade of 100A is now 6.0. So it's a big difference. It's 1 point above a college prep weighting. Now, some people also like to do AP classes. AP classes are a little bit harder to do as a homeschool student just because you can't do them yourself. You have to enroll your student in an AP approved class. You also have to go ahead and work on getting that AP test. There's a few more hoops to jump through. It's a lot easier to do if you're in public school or private school to do AP. So a lot of homeschool students do dual enrollment instead because they can go ahead and get those college credits earlier, and like I said, they're usually cheaper. If your student just really doesn't have anything else to take, like this year Katie took calculus. Shoreman does have a calculus too, but we really don't think that that's a practical class for Katie to take. So, in our worst case scenario, we probably would just go ahead and enroll her in calculus too, but it's probably a little bit more practical for Katie to go ahead and take a college algebra or statistics class as a dual enrollment class. So that's our plan. So when you kind of run out of classes and you don't really have other options, that is another reason for dual enrollment. Another example of that for Katie is that, and like I talked about at length in my Good and the Beautiful Language Arts video, they originally were going to have 4 years of English or language arts for high school students, and they changed their plan to only having 3 years and then having some optional choices. But those classes aren't ready yet, and they don't really meet what we needed for language arts. So we kind of were at the end of what we could do with the Good and the Beautiful. So now we're going to move on to dual enrollment. Another advantage that I see for dual enrollment classes while still in high school would be to kind of have your student dip their toe in the college water, kind of learn how to study, learn how to do things while only taking 1 or 2 classes at a time, and kind of ease into that college experience, especially if you have a student that, might be a little bit more timid or things like that. That could definitely be a benefit as well. Okay, so what are some negatives then for dual enrollment? Well, I can probably give you a better answer to this once we actually do it, but just thinking through and talking to friends and things like that, a couple of negatives that I can think of right now is that it is college level work in high school and not all kids are going to be ready for it. And honestly, if your child struggles, it's probably not a good thing, but I can tell you right now that I don't really know if Katie's ready for it. I know that she's a very good student. She makes good grades, but until we actually try it, we're not really going to know if she's ready. So I think for her, my gut feeling is that it's going to be a good thing. But, we'll have to kind of let you know once we do it, how, what she thought about it and her experience and all of that kind of stuff. So definitely it could be something that kids could get into and then, potentially have issues with and maybe not be quite ready for it. They are probably going to be taking classes with college students. So they're going to be exposed to older kids, and they maybe have been sheltered a little bit at home with being a homeschool student. So that is something to definitely think about as well. My kind of opinion on that is I really believe that Katie knows right from wrong at this point, and I think that she knows. She is kind of very solid in herself, knows what she wants to do, what she doesn't want to do. And I don't really think that that's going to have a whole lot of bearing on her at this point in her life. And, you know, if we're just going to be honest and real about this, I mean, she's going to be in college the following year anyway. It's only 1 year early. And I don't think I mentioned that at this point in this video, but the other thing about dual enrollment is that most colleges will not allow students younger than a junior in high school to enroll. There are a few that will take a second semester sophomore. My experience in researching this is that many of these schools are private schools. They're not public universities, but most of the time they're going to need to be at least a junior in high school in order to be able to enroll in dual enrollment classes. Okay, so now that we've kind of talked about what dual enrollment is, kind of some pros and cons and why you might want to consider it and that kind of thing, now I'm going to just kind of go into our experience so far, what we've done, and kind of where we are in the process of planning for dual enrollment for Katie's senior year. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I went online and looked up a local college to see if they offered dual enrollment. They did offer dual enrollment, but there was very little on their website, so I called the admissions office and just asked to speak to somebody about dual enrollment and just explained to them that Katie is a homeschool student, and because a lot of times they are really used to dealing with public school students. In fact, the public schools have opportunities in pretty much every public school to do dual enrollment while they're enrolled in public school. So that's very common now. That was not a thing when I was in school, but it's very common now. So they're kind of your competition, if you will. So getting into a dual enrollment program is not really, it's not really a competitive type thing with, you know, the way it is to get into college. You pretty much have to meet certain criteria. You have to have a certain GPA, certain grades. Sometimes they will require the SAT. They're not requiring right now for the college we're looking at, they're not requiring the SAT because of COVID and all of that. So that was not something that we had to forward. And so right now that might be something, but sometimes they may require that you either submit a PSAT or an SAT score for dual enrollment. So that's something to think about. And just kind of, if that's something that you are thinking about for your student, maybe to go ahead and research what the requirements are. So when I called her, she just kind of let me know that it was good that I called early because we live in Beaufort County, South Carolina, and the Beaufort County's public schools are, they kind of have a big push in late March for dual enrollment for their seniors and I think some of their juniors. So that is kind of a first come first serve thing. It would be good for Katie to go ahead and get her application in being a homeschool student so that she kind of wouldn't be at the back of the line. So it's one of those things where they will let you in, but there are only a certain number of places for dual enrollment for high school students. And when those classes fill up, you can either take other classes if they're available, or you're just going to have to wait until another year. Well, with Katie, we really need certain classes. We really need an English and we really need a math. So we are very hopeful at this point, since she is at the beginning of the line, that she'll be able to get the classes that she needs. But that was very good information, and I had no idea that it worked like that. Also, I didn't know that it was competitive in the sense that there were only so few places for dual enrollment classes for high school students. So she kind of explained to me the process of applying. This was an online application process. So Katie and I went in and we did that. A lot of it was just information that we kind of knew off the top of our head. We you know, put that in, we sent it in, and then we got an email back a couple of days later saying, thanks for applying, and here's some more stuff that we need. And a lot of that was stuff that we did have to jump through a few hoops to get. So for instance, they needed immunization records. Since we've moved, we had to get in touch with our pediatrician back in Lexington to get those immunization records so that we could forward those. They needed a transcript. They wanted that to come directly from our accountability group, so I had to work with them to get that. That's another thing, that if you are homeschooling and you're not under an umbrella school or an accountability group that provides a transcript, and you're making your own transcript, you're probably going to want to let them know that so they can explain to you what they need it to look like or what they're looking for. Because I just don't think most of these colleges have a ton of experience working with homeschoolers. I can tell you that there were numerous emails back and forth with me and the admissions lady that I was talking to about, okay, it says this, but we homeschool. What do I put in this blank? So 3 or 4 times there were things that didn't quite apply to us. One of the things that they needed was they needed a permission form filled out from Katie's high school counselor. And then they needed a permission form filled out from Katie's high school principal. So I asked her, well, do we just kind of fill that out as her parents and teachers? And she said, yeah. So basically I had to create a permission slip. Basically I just made like a letter from, you know, Gary and me to the college, is saying that we think that she's a good candidate for dual enrollment and that we give our approval for her to be allowed to take classes at their college if she's accepted. I felt like she was extremely helpful and very open to homeschool high school students enrolling. So that is pretty much where we are at this point with dual enrollment. We're kind of waiting to hear back if she's accepted, which that doesn't happen now for, I think it's gonna probably be in March or April. She told me that the classes for the fall semester don't even get released until mid to late March. So at this point, we don't even know what the class options are. However, the classes that we're looking for, she said they're always included. So that wasn't a problem. So there is a little bit of a lack of ability to prepare. We've kind of done all that we can do at this point. It's kind of in the hands of the college, and I'm not really used to that because at this point I usually have all my curriculum ordered and I'm kind of ready for the next year, and I can't really do that at this point. We're just kind of waiting on them for honestly the bulk of Katie's high school classes next year. So that is where we are with our dual enrollment kind of process so far and what we've learned about dual enrollment. If you have any questions, like I said, please leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to try to answer those if I can. And if you have any other video ideas having to do with homeschooling in high school or really anything else that you'd like me to touch on, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.